7, schedule agenda item 835, an oath of office for the interim finance officer, Lori Schultz. We do have Judge Stoltenberg here. We don't want to take any more time than necessary for him. He's got his robe, so we're going to allow him to swear in our new finance officer. Welcome, Lori, to your first meeting, official meeting.
You're getting all official. It's a little scary.
Right there. Super. Well, this will be easy. So, yeah, raise your right hand.
No
There
shakes.
you go. All right. We'll try to do this the correct way. So, I state your name, being duly appointed. You got to repeat that.
Brookings County, being duly appointed Brookings County Finance.
Okay. On the 17th day of November, 2020. Say that.
The whole thing.
Yep.
Okay, go in little shorter pieces.
Let's start over. How's that?
Let's do it.
All right. I state your name,
I, Lori Schultz,
being duly appointed
being duly appointed
to the position of finance
to
officer
the position of finance
of
officer
Brookings County, Brookings, South
of
Dakota,
Brookings County, Brookings, South Dakota,
on this 17th day of November, 2020,
on the 17th day of November 2020,
do hereby solemnly swear
do hereby solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of South Dakota,
and the Constitution of the State of South Dakota,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of finance officer
the duties of finance officer
of Brookings County, Brookings, South Dakota.
of Brookings County, Brookings, South Dakota.
Wonderful. So let's this one.
Congratulations, Lori, and thank you, Judge Stoltenberg, for taking time to help us with that. We'll see you back here in first meeting in January.
Sounds good. So thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. All right, we'll move on back to routine business, item number 6. We have approval of the claims. They're listed there, department head reports.
You skipped over the consent agenda.
Which one?
The consent agenda. 5.
Oh, I thought we did that. Okay. Consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. It does have the approval of the minutes, approval of the travel requests, approval of the personnel actions, approval of cellular authorizations, and approval of the Human Services Report document. Motion been made and seconded. Any comments? Any comments? If not, we'll call the roll.
Boersma?
Aye.
Krogman?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Now we'll move on to routine business, approval of the claims as noted, approval of the department head reports, for each report and documents. We'll wait for that one. And finance officer's report. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any comments? We will have Sonia's report shortly here. Any other comments? Hearing none, we'll call the roll.
Krogman?
Aye.
Jensen?
Aye.
Pierce?
Aye.
Boersma?
Aye.
Bartley?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, and Sonia, we'll let you come up and do your report first.
Good morning.
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 I'd like to first, I've been working to try to coordinate with the youth that went to the American Royal Livestock Judging Contest to find some time to come up and visit with you as well. But that contest took place mid-October, and they did make it, and they made it back safe as well. And overall, they placed 9th. And one of the 4-H'ers had been in sometime after that to pick up some award stuff for recognition event and commented on the experience that was, just to me, as far as the level of competition and the fun that they had. And so I look forward to them being able to share that with you in person. However, they did well for themselves, placing 9th overall, and 2 of them placed in the top 10 in like a specific species. One of them was top 10 in sheep, and one of them was top 10 in cattle. So accolades to them and their coaches for being prepared for that event and being competitive. They look forward to hopefully having a similar presence next year if 2021 presents itself nicer, that they can maybe be allowed to go to Denver. As the first place team at the livestock judging contest in September, in a normal year, their award trip would have been to participate at the Denver Stock Show in the Western Roundup. So that event has been canceled this year as far as those 4-H events. So this was the last week we rolled out on our Facebook page our 4-H recognition event for our year as a whole. Did a pre-recorded event where we had our 4-H members come in ahead of time to have their photos taken, and the photos were put into a PowerPoint that then we pre-recorded and placed online for people to view. Last Tuesday night and last Thursday night, a similar experience for those members that were receiving awards from our shooting sports. It's hard to remember January and February, and they were being presented with awards. Some of them from January, February, March, before things shut down on that March 13th, as well as those that participated this summer in our shotgun and muzzleloading programs, then went on to the state shoot as well. So we had an opportunity to recognize them in a safe environment, but it was fun to see those kids come in and pick up their awards. They did a scheduled pickup and photo time. So presenting each of them their awards for the year was kind of a nice thing for me to do, because usually I'm just reading those awards off and don't have that opportunity to see the look on their face when they actually are handed their award. Our shooting sport instructors are diligently working on getting the year kicked off for shooting sports to begin in January. I think we have a schedule for the most part finalized, with the exception of perhaps one archery line that we're uncertain of our number of coaches, or coaches, period. So we may have one less line this year just because of some coaches availability, but we did have some that participated in a training this past weekend in Madison. So we are building on some volunteer base there to allow for additional kids per line. We're going to be starting each line off with a very minimal number, which allows for social distancing. And then once that class is full based on that initial number, take a look at whether or not there's any family units that we might be able to move together a little bit because of that relationship, and not needing to provide a one lane worth of social distancing, at least in BB gun. And we'll be doing some safety class for the participants that do BB gun, air rifle, and air pistol virtually in December. Our new 4-H year did begin in October, but our new enrollment program only opened the 1st of November. And so people are navigating towards that and getting re-enrolled. And I know that when I submitted my report last week, there was 90 that were in within that first 10 days. So we look forward to watching that number grow. Are there any questions for me?
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Any questions, Commissioner Pierce?
None for me, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your report.
Thank you. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
You too. We'll move on to Sheriff Marty Stanwyck. Here's your report.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'll try to be brief because that way I won't talk as much today. Anyway, just briefly. I left the statistics on your desk. We're up to 31 inmates right now, which is at 31. Basically, I'm full, for square footage and stuff. So we're up 8 from my last report. Bookend, we stay busy on the weekends. Bookend stays busy, but a lot of them are in and out. We can get them in, process them, their crime is to the point that they either bond out, either on a PR bond, or they have the money, or someone comes in. So a lot of times they're in and out. So we've been lucky to keep the virus basically out of the jail, and staff still works hard to make sure they stay safe and keep the public safe and the inmates safe. So that I got to do. I got to handle it to my staff, and I'm trying to figure out ways that I could do to maybe perk them up, because they never complain. And if they complain, it doesn't get to me anyway. And so I'm trying to work with my supervisors to come up with some ideas to kind of help morale and things like that, and show that we appreciate what the correction officers do, because they got a tough job back there trying to keep, well, with construction, changing of doors, and the way they do things. But it's all going to be worthwhile in the end. So they're all willing to work with noise on the outside, with the drilling and things like that. They're willing to do that because they know what the outcome is going to be eventually. So anyway, 24/7 has got 84 participants on that, and again, that's still down from prior COVID-19, which we had 157, but it gradually goes up with 24/7 and so forth. Patrol's been busy. Is that in a 4-day span from last Thursday to Sunday, there was 18 accidents that my staff took. 13 of those were car deer. I think anybody that wants a hunting license for a deer in Brookings County should get it, because otherwise their vehicles are getting them. And prior to that, there was 11. So we've had 24 car deer accidents in the last week and a half to 2 weeks. So we've been putting stuff up on Facebook to try to, but there's certain times that, early morning and dusk is when they're really moving and stuff. So, but we haven't had any major injury, a lot of property damage, vehicles and stuff like that. But otherwise, that's been keeping the guys busy. And that's just us. I don't know what the highway patrol, they're taking accidents too, car deer. So I think we're keeping the body shops going this year. So, which you got to have some good with the bad, right? Anyway, other than that, I just want to talk about that. I made a purchase without permission. I had money in the budget. I was able to save some money in my car budget, because when I budgeted last year for vehicles, I budgeted for a certain amount per car, and when I ordered, it wasn't as much. It was $28,000, so I saved some money in there, and I just felt that there's probably times that we could have used a drone, and I did purchase a drone for I think it was about $5,900 was the drone, and it was kind of I had estimated for a drone last year, actually, or right after the first of the year, to try to get it on Homeland Security money, and I worked with Bob on there, and Bob said I was denied the drone through Homeland Security, which I don't quite understand, because Sioux Falls Police just purchased 2, and when I checked with their department, Homeland Security paid for those. But anyway, the drone, more and more departments are starting to use drones. I talked to the city police. Actually, they're going up to Aberdeen today to have a demonstration on drones up in Aberdeen. And I don't know if you've been watching the news lately. They use drones in Lincoln County, South Dakota, to get that murder suspect out of the slough and things like that. We've used drones in Brookings before, but I've had to get them out of search and rescue out of Watertown. Watertown Search and Rescue has a couple drones, and I've had them down a couple times, and so forth. So, we can use this for more than just law enforcement too. We can use it for the highway department if they want to look at a road or something, or Bob. I'm giving you a song and dance why I bought this, so if I don't need to do all this, I'll shut up. But anyway, I think there's other departments that could utilize this, and I'm just thinking too, I'll keep you apprised of the construction, because once I get my deputies trained, we'll be taking some pictures of construction and stuff like that. So I have 2 deputies going to train. I've already sent them to an 8-hour class for FAA to get their license. So they're going to be next to a pilot. This drone is you get all kinds of money spent on drones. I mean, they're from $5,000 to $30,000. Depends on how many bells and whistles. This is a basic drone that I think it'll work good for us. The only thing I added to it was heat thermal, so that when you're flying over, if someone's hiding in the brush or something like that, the heat thermal and so forth. It has a speaker on it so that the deputy could tell someone to come out of the woods or whatever you want to do and stuff. So I just think it'll be beneficial for us. So like I said, the money's there. I spent it. I got the drone, and I got to get them trained. So if you guys have any questions.
Marty, do you know what the average life expectancy is on that technology?
What's
Like, is that a 3 to 5 year that they expect the technology will be good, or is that something that continuously
It's gonna
has software
continue.
maintenance and
Yeah,
things like that?
I think what a lot of departments do, they start out with the basic to make sure that it works for them, and then as they go on, they add maybe some more stuff to it. It's going to be like a computer. It's good for 3 to 4 years or whatever, and then you're going to have to, technology will change and things like that. So you're right, but that's just something I'll have to budget for or still work with grants, so I can keep that program going. So.
Any other questions?
Will
Commissioner
you
Pierce?
yes, will you be keeping statistics on the use so that when that 4 or 5 years is up, we'll know how much it actually got used?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And I'll use that, I'll keep you apprised too, if we use it for other departments, like checking roads. If Bob has a zoning issue or a drainage issue, it's the middle and a quarter, instead of him have to walk out there, one of the deputy that's gonna be trained on it, eventually I'll have all my staff trained, but I'm gonna train two, they can go check on that water from the air, that drainage to see where it's, so we'll keep track. So I just think we can use it for more than just my department. It'll be for the whole county stuff, so.
I guess I don't have a problem with it if that's the case. That's what, I think Bob really could use that to get a larger picture of something out in the middle for drainage, for that Big Sioux River area.
Sure.
And all that kind of stuff. We get the beacon pictures, but those are a while back and dated. This would be a real life saying, look what happened since this last picture. And
Sure.
I think that would be a valuable asset to us and that kind of stuff too, so.
Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Nope, that's good.
And I haven't had a chance to talk about a lot of things with Bob and stuff, but you're absolutely right. If he has a zoning meeting coming up and it's something that's, that he needs, he just has to get a hold of me prior, and I'll go out there and get the pictures that he wants, and especially if it's something that there's conflict or something, that maybe by the air will help solve that conflict right at the get-go or something like that. So anyway, the money's there, so it isn't something that I have to come and say, I need to supplement my budget. It was there, so.
Okay, anything else?
No, that's it.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Brian will take the highway report next.
I know everybody's curious about what's happening down south on the bridges on 77, but we lost all last week with the weather. Monday with the rain, and Tuesday with the snow, Wednesday with the snow. Finally, yesterday, most of the things were in place last week, Friday, but yesterday they got the majority of the guardrail installed. And we've been working with the contractor on hauling out some remaining debris that's left there, be riprap and some other stuff. We're working with the contractor on that to, we actually got the majority of the riprap that was left over, or the contractor had brought in extra. We hauled it out, they just loaded it into our trucks, and we stockpiled it in areas so we can reuse it at some point. But we did haul a few loads for them to the dump, just kind of a working together type thing. We got some dirt to bring in. I don't know, Stacy, can you put your little thingy on my... We got basically some checklist items to take care of. I didn't get this submitted in time, but like I said, cleaning up the additional riprap, install guardrail, which is majority of it's done. Place topsoil on the shoulders and shape the inslopes. Seeding and secondary erosion control, pavement markings, traffic control signs, which the county is taking care of. So we're gonna call in the one calls here this morning, to get that done, and then finally remove detour signs, and we're hoping by Friday we'll have that opened up, is the goal. So I know one of the things on this, bridge that, these two bridges that I gave you guys sheets on, these are the two combined bridges, and you can see the paid to date and the remaining left on each of those bridges. So in total, we have $238,811.42 left to pay for that total. We're going to be looking at doing something a little different in the intersection next year. We're not going to be looking at doing as much grading because the intersection is in fairly good shape. So we're probably still going to be in that neighborhood of that 238,000, but it may be a little less. Is there any questions on that? I know that Stacy had sent out to you guys, these are individualized in that document, but each bridge is monitored and maintained in this particular document to show what we have spent and what we have remaining.
Can you, just first time looking at these, can you help me with this a little bit?
So if you look
on
at the
the left.
paid to date, or obviously, let's start here at the top. Right here at the top, you can see that we started out with a grant amount of $291,559, and so we start there, and then as we get bills in, it just subtracts off until we get down to what our balance is.
So just amount means is our response, or
Yep.
so the 291,559 was our responsibility.
For the I believe the South Bridge.
For the South Bridge,
Yep.
okay. And then paid to date is 218,000, so we owe 73 yet, is that, or?
Correct.
Okay,
I know it's a little bit confusing,
no,
but
that's okay, I'm sure it's fine, I just gotta try to
yep.
get this figured out a little bit, so these are bills that have not been paid yet, has the work been done yet?
Portions of the work have been done, but if you notice, we put the,
Okay.
as we're getting the bills in, we're monitoring the invoice dates.
And so the amount you paid then subtracts from that balance, and that's where we get the 73,000 left over yet for our
For our portion.
Gotcha. Okay, then going back to the one to your left there,
Yep.
and so our portion was the 1 million, and we've paid 877, so we got 165 left for that bridge, and this is the second bridge, the larger bridge?
That's the North Bridge.
North Bridge. Yep. Okay. And that's where and so this was all paid in 2020. Do we have any bills that were paid in the previous year for this?
Any bill, if you notice on this first one,
There's an 18 and a 19.
yep,
Yeah,
there's
I
the
see.
18 and 19. So as we're paying these down, any bill that comes in for this particular project
Mhm.
is getting into this document. And as we're paying them down, whether it's one year or the other, it's all getting monitored towards that dollar amount that we were
Okay.
awarded.
And Stacy, this will maybe be a question for you, but when did we budget for each of these? And what year did we have these come out? And this is kind of where I'm trying to look into a little bit more is, okay, was the South Bridge, the 291,000, was that budgeted in 2018?
Can I,
Yeah, go ahead.
if we look at one of the things that we did on here, we did denote where the bid opening was,
Okay,
so that might help with this document, because if you look at this first one, we applied for it, but we didn't get it in 2017, but we got it in 2018, and they're awarded together.
Gotcha.
And none of the work that, on the north bridge was started until the south one was completed. So that's
Mr.
why,
Chair,
Yep.
if I might interrupt for a minute.
You may.
I know there are 9 of us watching, and I've got the handout because Stacy sent it to me, but if we kept it up on the screen a little bit. Thanks.
All right, anything else, Commissioner Krogman?
Yeah, I just, I guess I would like to know back when we budgeted for this, because obviously it doesn't come out, and this is the part I'm trying to get a hold of in our budgeting process.
Right, and we are just now getting kind of a hold of all of that. So the money this year, there's money in the budget this year for both of those bridges. Although some of it was paid in 18 and 19 on the one, the majority has been paid this year.
Right, but when was it levied for? I guess that would be my question. When was it in the budget? When was, you know what I mean? When did we put it in the budget to do the mill levy?
I think it was in 19.
19 for
Yeah.
both of them? I would probably
Yeah.
guess that because we got the awards late in the year in the 18th. The budget's
Right.
already done for 19.
Yes.
Or- Yeah.
So, but if you recall, because of the way things kind of flushed out, we're using this year's budget to pay for these. And then we reassign, because we had both assigned dollars for these bridges. Now, that's no longer the case. Now it's assigned for the Bruce Bridge, the next big project. So the budget that we have this year is being used to pay for these expenses on these two bridges. Now, if the rest of the bills don't come in before year end, that money will roll into fund balance and we'll supplement it back next year what we need to finish paying, the 200 and some $1,000 that Brian mentioned. And maybe it'll come in yet this year, and maybe it won't be quite that much, but we'll supplement that back next year so that we can finish paying these bridges off.
And
So.
I appreciate this because that does give us an idea of what might carry over for next year.
right,
That we need to
And if-
identify from our,
And I sent the spreadsheets out yesterday, and if you look at the bottom, there's lots and lots and lots of tabs.
Yeah,
And each tab is a different bridge. And they actually have it separated out by grant too. So there may be preliminary engineering for this bridge and then the rehab or the construction or the preservation for that same bridge. 2 different grants through the big program, but for the same bridge. So you might see the same bridge number a couple of different times, but that's how they've been tracking them. But it's good information for you to see that they do know where we're at with these, so.
Some of the invoices here, I'm sure these are materials that the highway has incurred towards that project, correct?
as far as these two go, anything material-wise is, some is contractor furnished. This is the way that it was written out in the grant, or, not the grant, but the plans.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, as a highway, if you're going down there to, like, say you're hauling out riprap, are those costs being put on here as an invoice?
No, just because we're monitoring those costs, Larry, but it isn't going towards the grant.
Match, right.
Yeah.
All right, if there are no further questions, we need to move on to our 9 o'clock scheduled public hearing for supplemental budget emergency. It's itemized an action to approve resolution number 20-64, a supplemental budget resolution. And we have the resolution before us. Is there a motion to approve?
so moved.
Second.
In the public hearing at this time, are there any participants in the audience who would like to address this issue? I don't see any, so thank you very much. We will close the public hearing. Are there any other comments? Any other comments? Any questions on the resolution? Hearing none. We'll call the roll.
Jensen,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Boersma,
Aye.
Krogman,
Aye.
Bartley,
Aye.
motion carries.
I did notice that we did have 2 roll calls, or do you want a second one on the actual action? One was, I think it was just one roll call to cover both of these, isn't it?
And that was just an error on the agenda. Just one roll call will cover the resolution.
Hey, for a chance it wasn't mine. Okay, we'll move on to the reports again. We'll go to Lori. Our first
Brian.
report.
Brian's got some more.
Oh, Brian, you're probably not finished yet? Okay, we'll go back. All right, let's go back to your report.
Is there any more questions on
Would,
Commissioner?
much like we get numbers on detention center stuff on a regular basis, it wouldn't hurt my updates on like major projects in progress so that we kind of know where we're at. I think that's good for us to kind of be abreast of what's going on. So
agree.
this is super helpful. Thank you.
Thanks. So moving on, I know, I've gotten questions. Residents, we've been out trimming trees in the right of way. We have just trimmed them. Now we're gonna go back and pick them up. So if you guys have been hearing about how we're just leaving the trees lay, yes, we did leave them lay, but we are going to address, picking those up. I just wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of that. Aside from that, we have been working on some checklist items, and I'll have a report for you guys at our next meeting about some bridge findings and changes on our load rating system. One of the bridges in particular that I just want to touch on is on County Road 19, or the golf course road. That road's seen a lot of additional traffic, obviously, because we had 77 closed, and we do have a structure down there that is going to be docked about half of the legal load. And it's due to the pile cap in the middle of the structure that is compressed and it's splitting apart. So the engineer feels that we need to reduce that load rating to half. So I just wanted to make sure you guys are aware that's coming. Obviously, we're trying to get the bridge on 77 opened up this week, but then we're going to have to change that posting in order, or in consideration of his recommendation.
Do we have anything planned on that structure?
Yeah, it's we're applying for a grant. So, but just so you guys were aware of that, but then any issues we've gotten in those bridge inspection reports that we can do, we've been working on that also. So, particular some trees that we have to remove from underneath some structures. So, but just wanted to make sure you guys aware of that.
Any questions? Commissioner?
If we are applying for a grant on that golf course bridge right now, earliest possible action on that would be how soon?
Well, and that was another update I wanted to give you guys as far as that structure on 12. You know, we applied for that last year, and they changed it, obviously. You know, even with that one, so we'd be looking at a year or better out without the changes in design. So it's kind of a 3-year process. 1 year to apply, get the grant, and then design. So you're looking at about 3rd year you're going to be doing construction.
But at least we'll have 77 open to
Yes.
handle that traffic that can't cross that bridge.
Correct. And an update on 12, you know, we're looking at early spring letting is what I've been talking with Cody Oxland out in Pier and Colin with Banner. So we're still looking at, you know, early portion of the year to let that bridge out.
Any other questions for Brian? Hearing none, thank you very much.
Yep.
Now, Lori Schultz, for your first meeting and presentation.
Okay. Of the month, the 9th, we sent out delinquent real estate and mobile home tax letters. They were about the same number as last year, 903 real estate and 273 mobile homes. Those will go down significantly before we do our publication at the beginning of December, and then the tax sale the third Monday in December. So we've been busy with that, gearing up for the publication and the tax sale, lining up the printing company so we can send out next year's tax bills. We had the new employee, Audra Wilson, start, and she took over my position as senior finance. Let's see, what else? It's been really busy. We've been wearing 2 hats down there, both Jennifer and I, and so we went home pretty tired last night. We're picking up Vicky's duties and making sure nothing's missed, and then doing our own and training the new gals. So it's been really busy. Jenna has been busy with her cleaning up elections and getting ready for liquor license. I attended the PPCC POD Zoom meeting with Bob on November 12th. And I'm nearing the end of the NACO High Performance Leadership Academy, which I've really found helpful, especially considering the transitions that we've had in the office. There's been a lot in that I could apply. So I think that's really been a good program. And the team down there is looking forward to the office decorating contest and is really anxious to beat the equalization office that always seems to do so good. So yeah, there's a lot of firsts down there. So if you have questions on anything, just email them, and I might not have the answer right away, but I will certainly get it to you.
Any questions? Commissioner Pierce, any questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much for your first report.
Thanks.
Run through the be it noted items on the finance officer's
All right,
report.
item C is we have some be it noted items, the auditor's account with the treasurer, the payroll and additives totals, a highway expenditure report, and register of deeds statement of fees collected. So we have that document of the finance officer report
And
also.
And just kind of to note, I did hand out the auditor's account with the treasurer was not in the packet. That got handed out this morning, and then the aged accounts receivable report as well. Didn't quite get done in time to make the packet, but those got handed out this morning as part of that report.
All right, any questions on the finance officer's report, be it noted items or the documents? Hearing none. Mr. Hill.
For
Morning.
the month of, for the last month, we do an IPAWS test once a month. We did October 30th. Our other one's planned for today, so we'll knock that out. We had a planning meeting on November 2nd. We also had our monthly warning sirens on Election Day. There was a few questions about why are we sounding the sirens. We just told them we want you to go out to vote. Office of Emergency Management had a communications drill on November 4th. I went on the radio station, 2 radio stations on November 5th, pushing fall weather driving real heavy. The sheriff was talking about deer accidents and things like that, and we've been pushing that over the radio. The Salvation Army stopped by and gave me 25 more flood kits. Department of Health had a health access network call-in drill. We did have a PPCC Zoom meeting on November 12th. The Department of Health has released its state vaccination plan. It is online for anyone from the public that wants to see it. Just go to the Department of Health website and you can drill down and locate it. It might be a little difficult, but it's there. If you need help getting it, just shoot us an email here at the office. And right now it looks like the contracts are with CVS and Walgreens, and they've got a catchment area of approximately 75 miles. So there's a lot of unknowns. I mean, are they gonna send their people out to get the vaccinations? They're in phases. Phase 1A is gonna be the hospital people and stuff like that. They're obviously take care of themselves with the, giving the shots once they get the vaccine. And then it's broken down into 1B, and then it's broken down 2, 3, and 4. The general public's 4. You're probably looking April to June before you get down to that level. And in between there, it's going to be the first responders, may be in Group 1A, may end up in Group 1B. 1B is going to be the people that's got diabetes and several multiple factors and people in assisted livings and things like that. So it's all broken down in that plan. And once again, a plan's a plan, and we don't know how much is going to change right now. Pfizer, one of the big drug agents, they're doing a test in 4 states to see if they can, they're sending boxes at minus 90 degrees Celsius through various towns throughout the state of Texas, and I think Delaware, and there might be 2 other states, just to see if the vaccine can be transported safely. And this is long before they've got permission to do anything with the vaccine yet. So things are rolling. We'll be in the queue once it's released. We'll keep the commission and the public notified on what's going on. That was a Zoom meeting, and then I listened to a Zoom meeting from Department of Health, is where I got most of that information. November 12th, we had an online National Weather Service, had an emergency management meeting. Once a year, they typically have an emergency management meeting down at Aeros Data Center. This year, they put it online, and we discussed the weather stuff. Right now, starting yesterday, there's the annual International Association of Emergency Managers annual conference is going on. I'm actually attending it online, obviously. Basin Electric tonight's got a first responder virtual training. We'll log in after work and listen to that. Tomorrow, Richard has a South Dakota State University presentation to an agricultural class. They're asking about how to permit livestock in the joint jurisdiction area. So he goes over there, gives an hour presentation on how the county handles the agricultural in the joint jurisdiction area. Thursday, we got a local emergency planning committee meeting via Zoom. Tomorrow, a safety committee meeting. The banners, you've been seeing some bills come in monthly from Banners Associate over our drainage review on the Big Sioux River. Right now, they said that they've done their what they could do at Banners level, and that plan has been submitted to the Natural Conservation Resource Service in Huron, is where it's at now, to get their input. So once I get more input, I'll bring it to you. We're going to have our ICS training is going to be in December, Wednesday or Thursday. I'll find out tomorrow during my safety meeting when the best time is. And on next Wednesday, we're going to test the BCOAC. We're going to take the generator down there if at all possible, and we're going to hook up the electricity, and we'll see if we can't run part of the BCOAC with our little 20 kilowatt generator. Any questions?
Any questions for Bob? I know that document you referred to was like, vaccine document is like 64 pages. It's a long document, and if you really want to read it all, which I did, submit it to Bob. I forgot about half of it already, but one of the things that was interesting is you said CVS and Walgreens were the official pharmacies that they've selected, and our closest pharmacy is Walgreens at 48.2 miles. So, I mean, they listed every community and every structure in every community darn near it, and how far it was to the nearest Walgreens or CVS pharmacy for each of those. And our designated one is Watertown, so because we don't have a Walgreens here. It was also interesting the number of doses that they expect to receive. And again, less than 6,000 doses to be split up between 6 communities.
Yes, and they got.
Yeah, and an possibility that you can't trade from one community to the other without authorization. There's quite a system to track exactly what happens. We'll see how that works. I mean, they talked about the second shot after your first shot within 21 days or
21
something.
days, from what I understand, exactly.
Yeah, you have to have your second vaccination shot. So there's going to be an awful lot of work involved to make sure those people get back for the second shot. And the transportation issues, the first transportation issues, and I'm just throwing this out here as I remember, Bob, and you can correct me, was probably going to be handled by the couriers from Avera and Sanford to have vans equipped with that type of refrigeration unit to keep it at 70 degrees below.
And
zero.
like I said, it's nationwide, Walgreens and CVS and Pfizer, they're all working together to see if they can't come up with a better plan even.
Right.
even-
Well, and even in the state's document, they talked about transportation secondary to that would probably be highway patrol, and third option was National Guard. And they would have to provide those types of refrigeration units for those things to get it out. I see that as probably down when we get to the general public, and because that first 6,000 doses that are meted out could be split into smaller counts of 500 if they don't have, for instance, it's the first responders are going to get it at the hospitals first. If they can't use 1,000 doses, well, maybe they request 500 instead to try and keep it out to more hospitals and things. So they'll start with the major hospitals and work their way down to the smaller clinics and hospitals in the state. So it's when the vaccine hits, it's not going to hit everybody. Obviously, you're correct. It's going to be spring at the earliest. The news yesterday of a different vaccine that doesn't require the hospitalization may change this fluid document completely. We'll see what happens because that doesn't require the refrigeration. Well, it does, but not to that extreme. So again, Bob, thanks for staying on top of it. If you want to read that document, Bob will forward it to you. And it's interesting how detailed the document actually is. There's been a lot of effort into how the vaccine will be distributed in a scenario, so to speak.
And of course, everyone's not going to take the vaccine. So you can't say Brookings County has 32,000 people, so give us 32,000 doses, because it just doesn't work like that. Not everyone's going to take the vaccine, and we understand that, and we'll just do the best we can. When they do, I did notice there's really no usage of the pods at this time. I mean, they're looking for other people at this time, so we'll keep you informed. If they call the pod out, we'll go out and do our job, and if they don't, I'll be first in line for the vaccine when it's my category. That's all I can tell you.
So again, we'll try and keep you updated on that as we get those reports from the state.
Will do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Sheriff, I heard you say that you would forward that copy. I'd like to see that if you didn't mind.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I'll have Bob forward that to you.
I sent it to all the commissioners when I sent it to one.
Oh, you probably have it somewhere. Okay. You probably have it already. if
Okay,
you-
I'll double check.
If you don't, we'll resend it to you.
Okay, thank you.
A lot of good information in there, Bob.
Thank you. Dustin, BCOAC report.
Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I'll start with the attendance. In the archery range, we had 179 people come through. In the gun range, we had 201. For our events, JOAD is continuing their weekly shoot. They have 1 week left, so next week will be their last shoot for the year. October 21st, we had another blood drive with 45 people that came through. Wildlife Federation, they met again monthly. Going to try to book them every month for 2021 as well. Valley City, they finally came down and they actually ate in our archery range 2 nights, or Friday night and Saturday morning. And during their Friday night meal, we actually had roller derby. The girls were skating on the other side, so the wall that was built is working. For our little classroom, we had 8 events, or 8 meetings, I should say, consisting of 4-H, PRC, the Pistol Range Committee, Big Sioux Bowman, Beacon Hill, and Holstone Sustainability Meeting, which was a vet clinic from Pipestone. They came over, and our enhanced concealed carry classes. In the gun range, the sheriff's office qualified. Rochester Armored Car was in there. They qualified. Aeromates, they're going to come in and fly in the month of December every week after we close on Monday nights, I believe. On December 12th, Jason Nelson, he's the guy I've been working with from the outdoor campus. He's going to come down and do 2 basic archery classes. So get them in there, and hopefully we can work together to promote some more of that stuff. As Sonia kind of mentioned, we're working on getting range time for shooting sports and then our leagues and our classes for 2021. So my goal mid-December is to have all that stuff booked. Emergency plan, the board approved one of those. Now we have emergency plan for the Brookings County Outdoor Adventure Center, so we're all on the same page there. Maintenance, as Bob mentioned, we're gonna try to get that generator hookup done next Wednesday. We're gonna kill power to the entire building. I already talked to GF&P, talked to Sonia, and hopefully we can finally get that done on that Wednesday. And then Bob's gonna bring the generator over and we'll test it, see if we got everything working. Berm cleaning, as of right now, to clean our berm in the gun range is scheduled December 14th through the 16th. I'm still talking with Action Target, but I think we're just gonna get that done. I believe there's enough rounds that have been into that backstop where we can make it work to get that credit so we don't have to pay for it. We received the cable for our retrieval systems. We're gonna slowly work on getting all that fixed, so that's up to date. And I worked with Marty. He's actually going to help me out. He got me in contact with one of his nurses. We're going to do a CPR class out there for our part-time staff and then some of the RSOs that want to attend. So we got 2 classes scheduled for that in December 5th and December 7th. For snow removal this year, I talked with Razor's Edge, who moves our snow, and myself and the part-timers are going to try to take care of the sidewalks unless it's beyond what we can handle with shovels, but we're going to try to save a little bit of money doing that. And that's all I had for my report. You guys had any questions?
Any questions?
No, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
With that, we'll move on to regular business. Item A is an action to approve resolution number 20-65, a plat of Tract 1 of Rasmussen's Edition in the southeast quarter of Section 34, Township 109 North, Range 49 west of the 5th Prime Principal Meridian, Brookings County, South Dakota. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Bob, could you give us a report?
Yep, this was heard on December 2nd and approved by the County Planning and Zoning Board and sent to this board with a recommendation that you approve it.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the commission? Any questions or comments? Commissioner Pierce, any comments or questions?
Nothing from me, thank you.
Thank you. Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Pierce,
Aye.
Boersma,
Aye.
Krogman,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Bartley,
Aye.
motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item B is an action to approve agreement number 20-65, a planned service agreement between Brookings County and Johnson Controls, Inc. for preventative maintenance services for the HVAC system at the courthouse. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. And any report on this?
From my staff report, this is a 3-year service agreement with Johnson Controls for the HVAC system. If you recall, we just are kind of still in the process of installing that new chiller over at the courthouse. And due to that, this contract has actually decreased in cost. Our current cost, the cost for 2020 was $32,742. Contract for year 1 now goes down to $29,363 and then goes up about $1,000, give or take a little bit over the next 3 years. But even at year 3, it's still lower than what we've, slightly lower than what we paid this year due to the fact that we've installed some new equipment. So my recommendation is to approve.
All right. Any additional comments or questions from the commissioners? Any comments or questions? Commissioner Pierce, any questions?
None, thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions, we'll call the roll.
Boersma,
Aye.
Krogman,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Bartley,
Aye.
motion carries.
Item C is an action to approve agreement number 20-66, an addendum to the lawn care and snow removal agreement between the city of Brookings, Brookings County, and Razor's Edge. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. An explanation of the contract.
So this contract was bid out for this year, and then there was the ability for us to extend that contract an extra year as part of that initial bid. And in speaking with the city too, obviously Paul has already signed it. They've already approved the extension of this for another year. After that, then it'll be put out for bids again. But this is the same service that we've been using.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments on the agreement? Any questions or comments? Commissioner Pierce, any comments?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Krogman,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Boersma,
Aye.
Bartley,
Aye.
motion carries.
Item D is an action to approve agreement number 20-67, an agreement for general law enforcement services between Brookings County and the city of White, South Dakota. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. And a report, Marty?
Just new mayor, new city council people, they realized that they need more law enforcement than 7 hours a week, so they wanted to go back up to the 10 hours a week. And then they also may want some additional later on. So there's been complaints of speeding and stuff and those types of things. They realize that an hour a day doesn't, what hour do you want us there? In the morning or at night or whatever. So that's the reason they went back up.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the commissioners?
You can provide this, you're okay with that, staffing wise?
Yeah, no problem.
Any other comments? Commissioner Pierce, any comments?
No, thank you.
Okay,
I'm
thank you.
just, I'm sure the school and the bank would appreciate the
I
extra
think so.
hours of service also.
Yeah. White keeps us busy, even, the 7 hours, where they're probably a little longer, more than 7 hours, just because they got their 7 hours in doesn't mean I'm not gonna go back and take care of a call or, for service and stuff, so.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll call the roll.
Jensen,
Aye.
Pierce,
Aye.
Boersma,
Aye.
Krogman,
Aye.
Bartley.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item E is an action to approve agreement number 20-68, a right-of-way easement with Sioux Valley Energy. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any report?
I don't know if Brian, Ryan Olson with Sioux Valley Energy stopped at my office. I asked him to kind of give a brief description of what's going on. Ryan Olson is the staking engineer with Sioux Valley, and he said there's a 3-phase overhead line that runs past the county's property, and this is that property south on the S curves where kind of we have that little, they call it Barb's Park, right? Is that how most people know it as? He said to keep the line straight so they don't have to use the down guy wires. They need this easement, and that would be keep the line in the current alignment.
Okay. Any report on that, Brian?
No.
You're okay with it? Okay. Any other questions or comments? Questions or comments? Commissioner Pierce?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you. With that, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item F is an action to approve agreement number 20-69, Clark Drew proposal for the finance office project. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Motion been made and seconded, and we'll have a report.
Did you want to jump in, Commissioner Boersma, anytime? So this is for our finance office project that we're going to be doing hopefully yet this year. This bid does include the alternate that Commissioner Boersma and I preferred. That's with 1 inch of bullet-resistant glazing in lieu of just tempered glass.
Yes.
So this takes care of the partitions. What it eliminates actually is some of the replacement of the veneer, but I think we're looking at doing some of that stuff with joint powers as a joint powers board project. So this would get us moving forward on that project. I don't know if you have any other comments to make.
No, I think in conversations between Stacy and I, thinking through some of the security updates that have been recommended for active shooter training and other things, we thought the bullet-resistant glass was an important add alternate to include in the project. So that puts us right at 49,000 and change.
Any other comments? I guess my question is the motion is to approve it with alternate 1?
With that add alternate 1. So I think in the revised section, so Matt Chandler from Clark Drew Construction adjusted that base bid to include add alternate 1 in that $49,964, but it does include add alternate 1.
That does, yes.
Yep.
Okay. Just want to make sure we had that in the motion.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments?
Lori, do you have any comments? Thank you.
Are we going to be able to complete this project before the end of the year?
Like
I don't know, probably not, but this project is not. I know we had discussed using some of the CARES or the COVID funding from the state for this, and they will not allow us to use CARES Act money for this project. They're not paying for capital type improvements through CARES money. So what would happen, kind of similar to our bridge projects, if it doesn't get done, the money rolls into fund balance, and then we'll do a supplemental budget in 2021 for whatever doesn't get paid for out of the 2020 budget. So we'll just kind of see where we're at year end and plan accordingly. So we're hoping to get some of it done, but there's just some long lead times now, and with you start running into holidays and whatnot, it more than likely will trickle over into 21.
Is there any possibility to submit the design criteria from the architectural firm under the CARES Act, since it's obviously part of it is the COVID-related that started all of it, but maybe not the actual cost of construction, but at least maybe the design?
might be worth a shot.
We could try.
I guess I see no reason not to try to submit at least the design criteria. If they're not going to pay for the capital improvement, maybe they would at least the design. Meet us partway.
Worth a shot.
Okay.
I think the likely scenario is that we'll see a certain amount of billing for the materials that'll be ordered ahead of time, but because especially the bullet resistant glass is a long lead item, that'll probably be after the first of the year.
I assume we'll have a separate billing for the design.
Yes. Yep.
We've
That's,
been getting some of the billing from ArcInc already.
Yep.
For the design work that they have completed.
because those invoices would be paid and eligible to submit. I mean, they could make their decision, but we've completed that part of it in time.
I can't speak for how the state wants to handle stuff, but in my experience, the professional services are not CARES Act eligible in terms of architecture and engineering. So we can certainly ask, but I don't see that happening.
Okay. Any other questions on Finance Office? Any other questions? Commissioner Pierce, any questions?
None, thank you.
Thank you. With that, we'll call the roll.
Pierce,
Aye.
Boersma,
Aye.
Krogman,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Bartley,
Aye.
motion carries.
Item G is an action to approve the liquor license renewals for 2021. And we have some documents here. And let me go through them here. You have a PDF. We have Cusman's LLC, The Boathouse, Skyview Junction LLC, Wagon Wheel Resort LLC, SVK Properties LLC. We've removed item 5. Last one is Danceland Campground. I think that covers all of them. Any questions or comments on any of those renewals?
Were there any violations on any of those entities this year?
There were no, so in front of you, this is the annual renewal of liquor license for businesses located outside the municipalities for the year 2021. The Brookings Country Club was the only one that failed the most recent compliance check, and so that license will be considered by you guys at your next scheduled agenda meeting, which is December 1st. So the businesses in front of you all passed.
So Jenna, you said the most recent compliance check. Did we have more than one compliance check in 2020?
They do one compliance check a year
Okay.
due to the decrease in funding, I think.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments on those renewals? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I
Opposed,
think
nay?
I need a motion to approve
Oh, I thought we
those.
had the motion. Make a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Now, any other comments? Any other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Let's move on to approval of board appointments. First one we have here is the 4-H Promotion and Expansion Committee, 1 position, 2-year term. We have 1 applicant. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any comments? Any comments on the applicant? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Congratulations, Mr. Wicks. Item 2 is the BCOAC Advisory Board Archery Range Volunteer. There is one position, and it's a one-year term. We have 2 applicants, Dale Storhog and Paul Weiss. So we need a motion for one of those applicants to move forward.
I'll make a motion for Paul Weiss.
Second?
Motion been made and seconded for Paul Weiss. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I just, Paul's currently on the board, and has been making quite a few meetings and is continue on that board, so I don't see any reason not to let him. I do appreciate Dale applying. I know Dale very well, and he would do a good job too. I just think keeping the board intact and letting Paul continue to serve is the right thing to do for this, so.
All right, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor of the appointment of Paul Weiss, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Congratulations, Paul. Item I is an action to declare 3 office chairs in the BCOAC as surplus property to be disposed of. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Motion been made and seconded. Yeah, and they're just 3 chairs that are done. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Dustin, you get rid of the chairs. Item J is a discussion and possible action on submitting a comment by the county commission on the proposed layout of the ramps for the I-29 interchange. So at this point in time, we'll have a discussion first and possible action second. And I don't know who's leading this discussion.
I can do that if you'd like, Mr. Chair.
I think we're going to allow you to lead the discussion because I don't think Jackie's here from the city. So you go right ahead.
Okay. I asked that this item be put on the agenda. If you remember a couple of meetings ago, we had a conversation and everybody knew that the design for the ramps is now posted on www.interstate.st. I'm not saying the website right, but it's posted on the website, excuse me. And I was just trying to say that for people listening, but you can look it up if you would like to see it. But it's got the ramp layout that is proposed by the professionals that are working on this. And November 19th is the deadline for submitting comments. And what we talked about a couple meetings ago was everybody taking a look at the website, seeing what's there, and perhaps authorizing Chairman Bartley to post a comment on behalf of the Brookings County Commission regarding the proposal. And hopefully everybody's had a chance to look at it. There were a number of different ramp designs that were laid out, and all of them were rejected except for one for various different reasons. Some of the reasons had to do with the golf course, and we're trying to plan so that the golf course is not impacted by the interchange. A couple of them had an issue with being in a wetlands area on the county side of the interstate. And eventually they came down to one proposed ramp layout that has a loop on it. And if you all have already looked at it, you know what I'm talking about. And I don't know if it's possible for Stacy to pull up a copy of that while we're talking. I've had a chance to speak with Commissioner Jensen, who has been attending the meetings, and I know that Brian submitted a comment already on it, and the two of them have a couple of concerns that maybe we would want to address in our comment. But I leave that up to the commission. I'm going to let them explain what their concerns are. But I have to say that this, I thought, was a very creative way to deal with the geographic constraints that we have in that area for the interchange. And I think it looks pretty good if we can fix a couple of things. So, Commissioner Jensen, do you want to say anything about your concerns?
Brian and I had some concerns on some turning radiuses for be for a tractor semi trailer combination. Be it noted, I had brought those concerns to Jackie's attention also, and they were going to be addressed, I believe, in the next meeting. She was going to propose them. Brian had some other concerns, some site distance issues and some drainage issues. He can touch on those.
As you can see on the east side of the project, it encompasses our intersection there with our county, our 34th Avenue. And the way they have that designed right now is curb and gutter with expanding that to add in a turning lane to basically going north and south there. And that would all be curb and gutter. And the way they have that designed right now is the ramp coming down would drain pretty much all of the water towards that intersection. If you look at the cross sections, which we don't show here, but looking at the cross sections, we'd be draining all that water there. And we all know right now we have drainage issues in that area anyways, let alone draining in the additional water from this project onto that area without addressing any of those drainage issues. And then also it was brought up in the meeting that the turning off of the south or the northbound on-ramp would be, you wouldn't be able to see over the bridge. And that is one of my concerns. And then also Larry and I kind of touched on too, would be the 22nd Avenue. You can't make that radius with a semi-tractor trailer. And talking with a few of those entities that are in that area, they could foresee a lot of their traffic starting to use this area compared to going up to 6th Street. But many of these concerns were brought forth in the meeting, but they were briefly touched on, and I feel that we may need to make a little noise on this, just because we're designing this, we just as well design it for the future.
I will say that I did a reach out and what I'd like to just read this. That might be the easiest way. As relates to the 22nd Avenue, 20th Street intersection, the northeast corner radius at the 22nd Avenue, 20th Street intersection cannot be made larger without acquiring property from the golf course. The process to make this property conversion would likely take over a year and therefore would not fit within the time frame of the grant funding. Delivery trucks 30 feet long will be able to make the corner without infringing on adjacent lanes. Drivers of larger trucks could make the corner by infringing on adjacent lanes as occurs at many intersections in urban settings. It is reasonable to expect drivers of larger semis will prefer to take the 6th Street exit. So that was the response that I received. I don't know myself. I mean, we're interested as the county, but that intersection, I think if they have to make it larger, is outside the grant boundaries. There would be maybe some other ways to fix it, but I think the city would be the entity that would be needing to express the concern about this issue. I don't know how the rest of you feel about that.
No, Commissioner Pierce, just my observation of it, I thought I'd seen one of their drawings that showed a radius around that corner, but obviously we have a telephone building there, or the city has a telephone building on that corner. It would have to be probably mitigated and moved, and that's always a possibility. But also the acquisition of golf course property because of federal funding, the grant that they had to develop it. it obviously won't change anything as far as the course is concerned, but if it would take a year for that request and that to be taken care of, I guess, if the state DOT says, okay, trucks will infringe, but if 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road, we see semis trying to cut that corner across our bike path and we didn't make that bike path 12 inches of concrete so it doesn't crush if they cross over it, the city might have to address that independently and do the research and take a year or two to fix that corner afterwards. It wouldn't be part of our responsibility. So two concerns of mine is, one, we brought that concern. They've obviously known about the concern. And my question to the city is, at this point in time, will they correct that situation if it's necessary in the future? It's their issue, not necessarily ours. As far as the drainage onto 34th Street, I think you had some comments listed also there from the DOT in terms of drainage would be taken off that road before it got to the intersection.
I did, and I think this is definitely a county issue that maybe we could touch on if the rest of the commission thought appropriate in any comments that you filed. But what they said is relates to the drainage issue is regarding drainage at the 34th Avenue, 20th Street intersection. This was discussed and explained during a previous conference call. No additional storm water will be draining to the intersection. Storm drain inlets along 20th Street will capture roadway runoff before it gets to 34th Avenue. The ditches along the north and south sides of 20th Street drain to the west like they do now. And I don't know if that comment takes care of Larry and Brian's concern, because we certainly want 34th Avenue protected. And if it's appropriate, something about that I think should be in the comments that Chairman Bartley submits.
Brian and Larry, I'll defer to your expertise on that drainage. I assume that they're going to make some cutout somewhere along the drain, or there's no sewer out there. There's no stormwater retention, so somehow they've got to break up the curb and gutter to 34th or remove it.
That would be my suggestion. We're tying into a rural section of roadway, tying into 34th Avenue. And now we're looking at a portion of that intersection being curb and gutter. Some water's gonna get withheld in that area. I don't see the need for it west or east of the interstate.
The curb and gutter, you're referring to the curb and gutter needs to be addressed.
Because eventually, I mean, I know you will have the drop inlets, but we were at this meeting that they talked about this, but in the fall, winter, these drop inlets could freeze up and the water would continue to our road. And that was our concerns, because there's other areas on 34th Avenue that this has happened, so that's what the concerns were.
If I recall correctly, the reason for the curb and gutter there is that we anticipate in the future that area might be annexed. Is that correct?
Correct. That was part of the 20-year Brookings strategic plan.
Is there any timeline outlined in this to address that annexing issue? Because currently there is not right now.
The Comprehensive Master Plan Committee designated that as a potential growth area sometime between 2020 and 2040. That's as specific as it got.
Okay.
And again, I guess I'm more concerned about any of that intersection development. Is are we having input into that at this point, or is this designed? Are we going to be able to change it if we take out the curb and the gutter and allow the water to roll off to the west or off the highway north and south and eventually to the west? Could that be added back on in 10, 15 years when it may develop out there? Because at that point in time, you're going to have to put in storm drainage of some sort, I would assume. And if you're doing that at that time, you could redesign that curb and gutter to match whatever you're going to develop out there. In other words, I don't want to develop something that doesn't work down the road 10 to 20 years.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken, though, a rural section of road is differently sloped than an urban section of road, especially as it relates to the crest of the road versus the curb and gutter area. So you can't just design an urban section with no curb and gutter and have it function like a rural section.
Right, but this will be a rural section when it opens.
That's not the intent in the plan, from what I understand.
Correct, but correct me if I'm wrong, the landowner negotiations and their access to their properties, I'm not sure that that's finalized yet.
Right.
And your curb and gutter and your access to these properties will all depend what these landowners prefer. I mean, we don't know exactly what the use of the property is gonna be either, so.
All right, so at this point in time, Commissioner Pierce, what's your request for a letter, and where does it go, and what's the,
You go to the website and put in a comment, and I, if everybody else agrees, think that we should say that this is a positive design and that we support the project and that we're happy that with this design, it looks like we're on budget. We'll know more when we get our 60%, but that's what they said in the review, that this particular layout would be on budget. And that mainly our concern is that we've taken care of any drainage issues as relates to 34th Avenue. I do want to say about the curb and gutter issue, because we are on budget and we have funding to put the curb and gutter in now, I think that we would be going in the wrong direction to say, don't use that money for something that's going to be a benefit on the county side. I do think curb and gutter will be a good thing to have there. And while there is funding available from the federal government, we should get that done. That's just my thought.
other comments or questions? I'm just a little leery of how I'm going to draft a letter. I'll have to let Commissioner Pierce draft it. As to showing support, but, you got to do this or look at that and change things. So is the effectiveness of that comment needed at this point in time?
Comments make a big difference as they go down the road. They count them, they submit them, they keep track of them, and it's important that they do have comments.
We had two comments, one from the commissioner and one from the highway department, that they answered already on their website. Is that correct?
I don't think the responses are on the website yet, but I didn't look in the last couple of days. I think they do that after the deadline.
All right. So those are comments, personal comments, obviously, from commissioner, and personal comments from the highway department, or are they official comments?
They are a draft of proposed comments.
Okay. Because if I make a comment and it's coming from the chairman of the commission as a commission letter, then I need approval of that letter from everybody on the commission before I'd submit it. If you're asking me to make a personal comment, that's different, and I'd have to really consider that.
When the first stuff was posted, the commission authorized me to submit a comment on behalf of the county commission, and I did that, and said that I was speaking on behalf of the county commission. If the thoughts that I've expressed on what should be in a comment would be acceptable with everybody, I'd be happy to write the comment for the commission if you would prefer that I did that.
So other comments from commissioners?
Well, I don't think it hurts us to put a comment in there, on there of the concept, because this is our first real concept we had a chance, and I think we should weigh in on it. And if we're supportive of this, let's put that in there. But I don't think it hurts for us to address issues we have on our section of the road. I don't think we should do anything with the cities. That's their decision there. And us as a county commission as a whole, if we're all positive on this, that we think this is a positive drawing, I think we should put that in there. And it doesn't hurt for us to reiterate the concerns that we do have, and just to put that in the comment section. We've already done that. Brian and and Commissioner Jensen have done those already. It doesn't hurt for us to put that back in there as the drainage issue. That seems to be the main concern, I think, that we've seen here, we've talked about is the drainage issue of the water continuing on to that intersection to 34th and causing additional problems because the curb and gutter ends right where our road previously we put in starts and doesn't have the capability without other structures to handle that water. So I think that's important that we do make sure that's addressed so we don't cause further flooding to those roads.
The other issue we haven't discussed was Brian's comment about the sight line on the northbound exit across the bridge. And there were comments from the DOT on that. Basically, they would control it by speed limits. Is that, Commissioner Pierce, what you had referred to?
The response that I got, the site distance has been designed in accordance with federal highway criteria for the posted speed limit. And I sense, and I'm sorry that I don't have that where y'all can look at it, that sight line map that was, and maybe that was part of what was on the website, I can't remember, that shows how that's laid out. And there will be, when you're coming off the ramp going north, there will be a sightline issue, which is not, from what I've been told, uncommon on a bridge, and they anticipate that that will be controlled by speed limit.
Any suggestion from them on what that speed limit may be?
That's not included in anything that I've got.
The discussion at the meeting was there was the speed limit reduce or widen the bridge to gain your sight distance, which would add costs in my opinion, but
no decision's been made on how they would handle it other than speed limit, reduce speed limit? I mean, as I look at the plan, obviously, as you come off 22nd Avenue and go to going south, it's probably going to be 35 miles an hour. It's still in the city limits, and I don't think that's going to increase as you cross over the bridge. So if you're coming to the north, crossing to the west, that's the sight line we're concerned about. If that traffic's at 35 miles an hour, it's obviously going to be easier to handle it. I live on the 14 bypass, and there's a sight line over that bridge when you come off on the north that you can't see cars coming onto the bridge on the other side. And the speed limit there is now 55. It was down to 45, and that worked pretty well. But right now, I think it's back up to 55, and it doesn't work really well, in my opinion, having taken that turn many times. So at 35 miles an hour, if that's what they end up with, and I assume it will because it's in city limits, and I don't know who determines the speed limit on our other side. Is that the DOT? Is that the county? As far as, I mean, there's no sightline problem there, but that's a short distance. Do we maintain 35 all the way to 34th, or do we increase it to 45 or 55? I mean, those are issues that we'll have to settle in the future. But right now, if the city would comment that it's 35 miles an hour, consistent with their speed limits in town, the sightlines probably is not as much of an issue, in my opinion. Any other thoughts or comments on that? I mean, that's part of what I think we need to address, is if the city keeps its speed limit at the top in town is 35 miles an hour, to go over that, because you've already got an exit into the trailer park there too. The road that's going to be before the ramp. If it keeps it at 35, then it shouldn't be a sight problem. Well, it'll still be a sight problem, but you're not going to have a car at 55 coming across the bridge. Well, you might, but not legally. Comments on that, Commissioner Pierce?
No comments. I agree with that. And Commissioner Jensen and Brian would know this better than I, but it appears that this sightline issue is not uncommon when you build a interchange.
Okay. And other comments from anyone on that particular part of it? So the two issues we will address are the drainage issue and the sightline issue, and we'll request the consideration for the 35-mile-an-hour speed limit the city already has an urban requirement for, I guess. I don't know what their requirement is.
I'm still concerned about turning radiuses at those two locations, but if they're going to be addressed in the future and Just kind of hard to, while you're building something, it'd be nice to do it when you're working on it instead of tearing it up 2 years down the road to make it compatible to a tractor trailer.
Are you concerned about ours over on 34th and
No.
not worried about that
The
one,
main,
right?
the main concern is 22nd Avenue and 20th.
Right.
There's gonna be a lot of trucks delivery trucks from Hy-Vee, 3M, you got Larson's, Twin City Fan, that they're gonna wanna use this closer route instead of going up to Sixth Street and coming down through that front road and all that traffic up there. I just feel in the future, this will get used more and more, and to make it compatible when it's first built is an advantage, so
I think you're right, but I don't know if we have any control over that, you know?
nope, this just comment that
Well,
I'd
I
like
think
to
it could
see.
be, I think could be included in our comment. We feel that that's a responsibility of the city to figure that out. I don't know, if it takes them a year just to get permission they could have an alternative in here and at their expense, but if it takes a year, well, we can approve it as is, so we get through the grant process. If it takes them a year, we've got a year before the complete construction that they could make a change and finance it themselves to make that change and move the telephone building and get the permission to change the corner. So our suggestion to them, or my suggestion would be simply, please address that issue if you can during initial construction to avoid having to do it 3 years, 4 years, 5 years down the road.
I'm assuming they're gonna improve that intersection with lights and different stuff like that, because this is gonna
Right.
change the traffic flow
Yeah.
immensely on this corner.
Right.
So I'm assuming they're gonna be spending some money for some lights, turning lanes, and even the 22nd Street to the south might even end up, widen that intersection. So I don't know if that's something that they're planning to do in the near future, but not in this grant. That might be a conversation to have, to say, hey, if you're waiting for a year or two to do that, great, make sure you widen it to get the turns. I just don't know if they can get that done right now in our grant process, but
Right.
I'm assuming they're gonna improve that, because I know they've had issues already with the traffic coming from 22nd, running into people turning, no turning lane, going north, 22nd Street south to the north, so.
Well, and their 22nd Avenue expansion project is a 4-phase project over the next however many years, and I would imagine that that's part of what that will end up being, but I think it's important to note that as well.
Okay, so you feel that should be included in our comments? Okay. Commissioner Pierce, we should include that in our comments.
Okay, and I'm fine with that, but I agree with Commissioner Krogman. I think that's a city issue. It would be great to deal with it now. If we can't, we can't, and the city will have to deal with it later.
Any other comments or questions on that? Do we approve a letter? Is there a motion to approve a letter that I signed?
It wouldn't be a letter, it'd just be a comment that gets typed in on the website.
Excuse me, a comment?
I'd make a motion that Commissioner Bartley submit a comment on the website that summarizes the conversation that we've had regarding the interchange and supports the project, with some comments on things that we would like people to look at further, in particular the drainage issue on 34th Avenue.
I'll second.
A motion made and seconded, and as we go to comments on the comment, what's the deadline on these comments? I know you were concerned that we get this in as soon as possible. What's the deadline?
19th.
November 19th.
Thursday. Okay, that's pretty quick.
One other comment, I guess, has anybody, Brian, Larry, has anybody heard a negative comment about this proposal? I mean, I didn't have a problem, it seems like we don't have a problem. Has anybody, any of the landowners, any county employers that are concerned about this type of design?
I haven't heard anything. I guess I think kind of the biggest thing when Larry and I looked at this is just kind of the overall safety of the road, and that's why our comments, or the comments that I submitted came from. That was what I wanted to throw in there too.
I just didn't know if we're making this comment that all of a sudden people are gonna reach out to us and say, hey, why did you approve this? This is a terrible plan. And it's like, you know, I've not seen anything or reason to believe that, but I didn't know if anybody else had heard anything or had comments about it.
All right, Commissioner Pierce, would you draft that comment and then submit it to the commissioners, or at least submit it to Stacy, and she could forward it to us for any review before posting?
I can do that. I will put something together, send it to Stacy.
All right. Is that good for everybody? Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Leanne, you have your work cut out for you.
Thank you.
All right. Item K is a presentation on the 24/7 program kiosk by Sheriff Stanwick and Jail Administrator Bart Sweeby. You guys could come up and have the podium.
Good morning.
Morning.
We were approached by a company that has a standalone kiosk machine that will be hands-free for us on getting PBT alcohol tests for the 24/7 program. The machine, they currently have machines set up in Minnehaha County at their testing site and Cottington County as well. Cottington County's been using theirs for about a month, and they're having good results from it. If the person fails the test, there's a message that comes up on the screen that they need to report to the PBT window. We would still have a window to PBT at, and we get another test just to confirm the test that was done by the kiosk. If that's still a fail, what I imagine it would be, then we have them come inside, wait for 15 minutes, and we do another test. My concerns were that somebody could split and run, and I asked Cottington County about that, and they said over the month period they've had several failures, which is common with the program, and nobody has ran off. They've all reported in the way that they need to report in. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to play a video here. It's a 5-minute video. It just explains the kiosk a little bit better than I'm going to be able to explain it to you, as I could probably chat for a while. So this sums it all up in 5 minutes. Then I got a few more comments on it.
Breathalyzer kiosk, also known as the AB kiosk, is an alcohol screening system that autonomously conducts court-mandated sobriety testing programs. In addition to reducing the cost and workload of sobriety testing, the AB kiosk system can also automate and simplify other judicial and law enforcement programs, including day reporting, Huber work release, and pre- and post-trial services. The AB kiosk system consists of 2 integrated and secure components: a standalone testing kiosk and an easy-to-use offender management software program. The kiosk captures video and still images throughout each alcohol screening test and immediately alerts program administrators in the event of a failed test. This system can independently administer alcohol screening tests to up to 40 individuals per hour without any direct staff supervision. Payment for each test can be made by the jurisdiction or by the offender, who can insert dollar bills or swipe a credit card. In addition, a robust offender management software program provides detailed real-time activity logs, simplifies new client onboarding, enables regular and random test scheduling, and allows supervisors to both deliver messages to clients and receive testing alerts. Deputies and other supervisors can access their offender management dashboard via desktops, laptops, or smartphones. and instantly generate testing reports on any segment of their offender population. The AB kiosk is typically located in the lobby of a sheriff's department or jail. Clients are typically assigned to a once or twice daily sobriety testing schedule. In this video, we'll follow a client as she logs in for the first time and completes her initial alcohol screening test. To begin, the client approaches the kiosk and taps the screen. Because she is a new client, she initiates the registration process by tapping the register button. Using the on-screen keyboard, she'll enter her first and last name and tap Submit. Next, she'll enter the PIN that she was given by her supervising officer or deputy, and then enter her date of birth.
That's a connectivity issue, not an issue on my side. It's showing low connectivity. Hmm? This one? This one here?
And
Just falling out. Well, I guess we'll proceed. Sorry. We'll see if this video catches up. Once she logs in, where this continues on, and I can email this video out to everybody to watch, because there's also another video which I'm not going to play. Once she logs in and registers in, it also does a fingerprint scan. It takes the fingerprint scan, and that's how she logs in for future. She inserts her money into the machine, and there's a dispenser at the bottom that is just regular bendable straws, just regular bendable drinking straws. You put the short end of the straw into the machine. It asks for you to blow. You blow into the machine. It registers your reading. You pass, you're good. You get a receipt that proves you took your test, and you're good to go. When you come back in, you don't have to go through this whole registration process. You just tap the screen, you scan your fingerprint, you insert your money for your test, and you go on from there. Some of the points that I've got wrote up here.
When-
Trying to catch up.
Prompted on screen, she will then place her right index finger.
I think I'm just going to pause it. Okay. So the clients pay for their test at the kiosk, inserting cash or swiping out a credit card. I think we're going to get, I think that'll be a great tool for us. A lot of people are using credit cards anyways these days, or debit cards, so I think we're going to see a little bit easier payment for that. The company that is putting these machines out, they had to get permission from the state to even use these. So they've already worked through the 24/7 program out at the state capitol to get these approved. This isn't something that they could just bring in and set up. These actually had to be approved by the state for them to even give us this option of testing. They're also working currently with AMS. AMS, you may have heard me talk about in the past. They're the company that originally did the bracelets on the ankles. Here a couple years back, they also took over the website for the whole state. So all 24/7 testing is done through AMS through their website that the state oversees. This company is working on integrating their information with AMS, which will really speed things up for us. The test would then go straight into the AMS website, into the South Dakota website, and we wouldn't have to do any manual entries for PBT test. It would also log in the money and log it straight into their accounts and the website. It would be seamless. All we got to do is just follow up and do some checkup to make sure everything looks good. Check over, if somebody didn't come in for testing just like we do now. We still got to review our tests and see if everybody came in. But it's really going to speed things up for us as well. The money all goes into the machine or in through the credit card. We then print off a report from that. That money all can go into a special bank account that we can get set up. And then we can cut one check to the finance office for when we do an in-code deposit into our account. That's going to save finance office a lot of time and sitting there having to count all of our money out. So we like that option as well, and I discussed this with Lori, and she extremely likes that option because for years she has had to count my stacks of money that I bring over. The cost of it is, don't get scared by this cost. It's $1,350 per month. All I got to do is have 22 people testing twice a day, and that pays for that fee. We checked with our accounts currently. We've got enough money comfortably in our 24/7 account right now in our bank with finance office that we could go ahead and pay a year for that. And then as we do our PBT tests, we would just replenish that money back into that initial fee that we put out. We don't have to do that, but it's easy. I think it would be easier than paying per month. It's just another bill we would have to pay every month. If we just pay a year out, it would be pretty easy. I borrowed that idea off of Connington County. That's what they did. They just went ahead and paid for a whole year. So we would like to, we got a contract that we would need to sign with this company. The sheriff has that contract. We wanted to present this to commission to let you know what we were looking at doing with this and see what your thoughts are, see if you have any questions.
Okay, any questions? Commissioner Boersma?
Bart, I'm seeing on the PBT test from our 24/7 program summary that the last I don't know, 4 or 5 months or so, we're averaging between 10 and 12 people per day. So based on the 22 people twice a day, we would need our numbers back up to pre-COVID kinds of 24/7 numbers. So the first year, we're probably subsidizing it more, and then in the future, it's probably back towards where it's relatively self-sufficient, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And one thing I can see us doing is with us not having to have any contact with the person, and Connington County helped us out on one of these as well. When everything got shut down at the sites for COVID-19, sites were only testing for their own participants. When Connington County got their machine set up a month ago, and I called up their jail administrator because we had a guy that was living up in Connington, or up in Watertown, and asked us, could you switch this guy over to PBTs? Could he come to there and do our PBT, since he only has to do it at the machine? There's no contact with him and your people. And they moved that in. So I think that would also help us open back up our door to having people come in from other counties and do PBTs, because we've had to turn a lot of that down, which has, in sense, hurt our numbers for how many people we got coming in doing PBTs.
Sure.
So I think that would help bring that number back up some as well.
And pre-COVID, we were averaging between, what, like 18 and 20 typical?
Yeah, and I think we were at least around 20, if
Okay.
not more.
Okay. Yeah, for PBT.
We've been averaging about 29. Twice a day.
Okay.
29 and they come in twice a day. And there's other things that can be used on this. It's just not 24/7, but fingerprint money, when they come in and do UAs, everything can be in there. It'll give us a program. It'll really,
Right, we're with them being able to do the credit card swipe, we can have them come in and pay for their UA test, their scram test. All of that stuff can go through that same machine, which I think with the debit cards, credit cards, I think that we'll definitely see an increase on usage of it that way as well.
this has also been approved through South Dakota legislative audit, so everything's kind of get to go. So it'll really streamline, but again, it's not just for 24/7. Basically, the PBTs, it can be used for everything. We do that. And then eventually it'll be connected as more and more of these machines are put into sheriff's office, and we'll be all connected. And so if we have a client that's in Brookings County that blows in Watertown, we'll have that information on our system too. So,
That's part of the integration that they're working on with AMS.
and I think it just moves into progression with the technology. And then when we get our new facility too, to integrate that in the 24/7 section of our facility too. So.
Another cost cut for us is that we won't have to buy so many PBT tubes, because it's a bendable straw. They use it and throw it away. Well, our PBT tubes right now cost us 10 cents a usage, and it only gets used once. The plastic straws are way more cheaper than what the PBT tubes are. Plus save us $400 or $500, each time we got to buy a new PBT device, because those don't last forever, and we either need to send them out for repairs or buy a new one, and that'll cut down on those fees as well.
So is this leasing? Would you lease the machine?
The machine does still belong to the company.
Yep.
So
And so if servicing, is there any other additional servicing agreements or anything like that we would have to purchase on a monthly basis or anything? Or is the $1,300 a month include servicing, machine,
it
and
includes
everything?
repairs and things that they would need to do.
Okay.
The only thing it doesn't is if a client comes in and is mad at the machine and busts it up, that client's going to be responsible for that machine. Which there's still going to be a camera in there and so forth to catch that type of stuff. So.
And it does still shots, it does video of every person that comes in and tests, so that you can know exactly who's sitting there testing.
They come in and provide 8 hours of training for staff too. That's part of their responsibility.
That's what I was wondering, the impact on staff, or is this replacing a staff member, or how?
I think it'll cut down on some of our hours for staff, because we still will have to have somebody there, if there's a failure, they're gonna come walking up to the PBT window to get another test done. But I don't know that we're gonna have to have, them do so much with the program. It'd just be a review of stuff.
Just a question on, you're talking about archiving videos and pictures of people and this data. Is that a separate system that we're going to have to buy? Does it integrate with our system?
Nope,
Does it come with the
that's all
kiosk?
That's all within
All
the
right, so
computer
you're going to get
itself.
another computer outside the kiosk that stores all that data?
No, the storage is all within their computer system.
Okay.
We have access to it by linking into their computer.
Okay, so we don't have to buy any
We don't have
external
to store
equipment
it. No, we
other
don't have to
than
do any
leasing the
storage.
kiosk?
Nope.
Is there a discount to paying a year ahead?
I don't believe so. It didn't sound like there was.
Okay.
Is
Can
there
always ask.
anything as relates to the wiring, the internet hookup, all of that sort of thing that's going to make any changes in our new 24/7 area at the remodeled jail?
No, we would just need to have a Cat5 connection, a computer connection, and that's all that we would need.
Was
That-
that already planned in, or is that something that'll be a change in our project?
We may need to I guess we would need to figure out where we're gonna put the device, in the new building. And we may just need to drop in a Cat5 and make sure we have power right at that location.
Otherwise, there's Cat 5 going into the 24/7, it's just where we locate the machine. Might have to.
Right.
So your request is to consider this if you were to get approval here, what time frame are you looking at? Where would you put it while the jail's being remodeled?
While we're working on it, we've got to place, our current entry into our PBT room. There's a perfect place on the wall because these don't have to be on a stand, they can be mounted to the wall. And, there's a perfect place for it, within that temporary room that we're using.
So your request today is for approval or further?
Basically, to go ahead and get the kiosk. And the biggest thing is that it's self-sufficient. In other words, the customer is going to pay for the machine.
I guess I have a question on that. What do we, there's a current charge right now that they come in and pay, right? Is that charge gonna stay the same?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Where does that money that we receive right now go to?
That goes into a special fund at the finance office. You mean all of our
No,
24/7
I'm
money?
talking currently right now, where does the cost for the 24/7 tests that are being administered right now, where does that go? Does that go back in the 24/7
It goes
account?
back into
Yes.
24/7.
They're
Yep.
separating
Yep.
that out.
Yep.
And so this would go back there anyway. So it's going to the same exact spot. It's just that we're
Yep.
taking
Yep,
the,
we're just going to use the machine to help
As-
streamline, hoping for efficiency, and then plus with COVID, it's just less contact. Right now, when they come in, they actually blow, and so staff has to have their masks on and everything so they don't get something blown on them, but they have to kind of make sure the person's blowing at this point.
so basically we're using the money that we have in the 24/7 right now to
Yes.
pay that initial year. And then after that,
The money that we would
Make-
take in from the machine, we would just put back
Put
into
back
that
in
same
there.
Back into
account.
the 24/7.
and so it should
I just
pay
kinda-
or make some more.
Yeah, I apologize, I keep.
No,
kinda-
you're okay.
It's, Cottington County, I thought, had a good idea. They just went ahead and paid it up front.
Right.
The cost of the machine. That way they don't have to worry about paying them every month, and that's just another efficiency thing. So I'm thinking we have the money in, have $90,000 in that account. Some of that will come out for next year's expenses, but we still have plenty in there for the 16,000. Pay them up front, and then when we take that, we just put it back into the account and then not have to worry about it.
So it doesn't really affect our general fund or anything like that?
No,
This is all
no.
through your 24/7 and all kind of comes out and stays in that same fund?
Correct.
And if we ever do become low, they do allow state grants. 24/7 does send me a grant application every year, but I have to show that I need the money. When I got money in the bank, they're not gonna give me a grant. So if it gets, for some reason, it gets down to zero, then I can apply for that grant, but I don't see that happening. As we go on, 24/7 will keep increasing. It's just the COVID has, it's just the way we've limited it.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? At this point in time, I appreciate the presentation. Since we don't have it listed as an action item, I would suggest that we do it by consensus today. Is there any objection? Commissioner Pierce?
That sounds good with me. I support the project.
All right. So at this point, you have a consensus to move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Item number.
I really don't have too much today. Are aware too, we still have a few positions on the volunteer or the board appointments that we're still advertising for. We did receive a resignation of someone from on the planning zoning board effective the end of the year. So that, I believe that's in District 4. So that one's being advertised for, and then the, as well as an alternate position to that commission. And then there's the position on the first district board as well. So those are still being advertised. And the only other thing really to note is that the offices will be closed next week, Thursday and Friday, due to Thanksgiving, to the Thanksgiving holiday. Otherwise, that's really all I have for you today.
Thank you. Dan, do you have any state's attorney's report?
Yeah, I can make a few comments. On the agenda, there's a document regarding our underage diversion program. That continues to be a good success, generating funds and also generating a lot of service hours here in the community. I think it's been extremely successful, and we'll continue with that program. And then the other thing is everybody wants answers on marijuana, and we are working pretty diligently during the last couple of weeks to see where we're going and what needs to happen in the next 6 months. As you're all aware, 2 weeks ago, Amendment A passed, and so did Initiated Measure 26. And the biggest legal component to that is obviously that Amendment A is an amendment to the South Dakota Constitution, which is our highest law. And that amendment, I don't know that a lot of people read it before they voted on it one way or the other, but we've been reading that pretty closely. It does create a lot of, we'll say, rights, constitutional rights in the language of that amendment that the legislature is going to have to look at in the next session as they address that. It also creates a number of exceptions, a number of different things that the legislature can also take into account. The laws that we currently have do not really fit those exceptions very well. And so it's going to be up to the legislature to create the right shaped peg to fit into those exceptions in the next session. And based on that, I expect that we will have a really good handle on marijuana policy when the law takes formal effect on July 1st of next year. There is a number of things that need to be done on the commercial side that may take longer, but from the criminal side, those answers are going to come pretty rapidly through the legislature. And in the meantime, again, we do have a really successful diversion program, and during the transitionary period between the election and when some of these things take effect, we will ideally be expanding some of our programming and doing some creative things so that we can be ready on day one when the law takes formal effect. Obviously, there's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of questions that need to be answered. There's a lot of questions that we don't even know yet. And that's one of the things and one of the reasons why Dan isn't with us today. He's on a conference call. And we've been talking about this just about every day since last Tuesday. I think Amendment A was something of a surprise to a lot of voters. But again, that is the highest law in our land. And so until the legislature gives us more to work with, we have to be a little patient.
All right. Any
A question for Ben that's not related to the marijuana law. In our budget today, our budget documents, I think we paid $4,800, maybe a little bit more than that, for blood alcohol tests to the hospital on DWI. Ben, do you happen to know how much a blood test cost is now?
Well, we collect, I want to say $200.50 on each conviction for a blood draw at the hospital. And that includes not only the hospital's fee, but it includes some other things as well. So I don't have the exact breakdown, but it's currently $200.50 per conviction on a blood draw at the hospital. And that doesn't matter whether it's by a warrant or by consent.
And I just wonder if this isn't an issue. I'd like if Lori has an opportunity to maybe send out an email saying what we've spent this year on those blood alcohol tests. It looks to me if we're doing $4,800 in 1 month, we're spending a considerable amount of money on that, and it might be worth our reaching out. When I sat on the hospital board, I know that the blood alcohol test cost for Brookings County was higher than other places, and when I sat on the bench, I knew that the blood alcohol test cost was significantly higher from the Brookings Hospital than it was other places. And I just wonder if we shouldn't take a look at that and then maybe have Commissioner Krogman, who's our liaison, have a conversation about how high that bill is getting to be for each one of those tests. But first, I think we just need to know how much we were spending on that in a year. It was a lot this month.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, thank you for your report. We'll go down to Commissioner reports and discussion items. Commissioner Pierce, since your mic's on, we'll let you go first.
Okay, and I just have a short report. On November 12th, I attended the Joint Powers meeting, and a lot of our meeting focused on the bioswale. And the city reported that the bioswale is going to cost between $35,000 and $45,000. And they've determined that they're going to pay that cost from the storm drainage fund that the city has. And they no longer are going to be asking for a contribution from the county. You might recall that we had agreed to spend up to $7,500 on that. And further, they've agreed that the Joint Powers budget will not be responsible for paying the maintenance costs for the bioswale in the future. I'm not quite sure what fund the city has that's going to come out of, but it won't be coming out of Joint Powers. And that would be my report.
Thank you. Commissioner Borsman?
Review and related to the modifications in the finance office. The 12th was a part of the Joint Powers Board meeting. And again, we talked a lot about the bioswale, but also about the veneer fix challenges in this building. So we've elected to move forward with two different processes. One that's basically a patch and replace on certain veneers in specific locations where flat work and corners are being delaminated. The stair will approach with a little bit of a different tactic. That way, over time, we can evaluate which of those ends up being a more successful solution, so that hopefully that is something that only has to happen once. The 13th was Vicky's retirement party, and then that was incredibly well attended. I think in spite of COVID and everything else, there's an awful lot of people in Brookings who are big fans of Vicky's, and so that was it was fun to see that many people, and she will certainly be missed. Yesterday was the Brookings Behavioral Health and Wellness Board meeting. I have asked Stacy and Mary Beth to work on getting a time scheduled so that the annual report and the accreditation report from Brookings Behavioral Health and Wellness gets presented to the commission. They recently went through their reaccreditation process and got some incredibly high praise from the accreditation body. I think it's important that we hear about the progress that's being made in that organization. They received another 2-year reaccreditation as a part of that. And then just a reminder for everybody, that Project Joy collections of gifts begins tomorrow, I believe, through the 4th of December. I went shopping this weekend on behalf of the commissioners to get some toys for Project Joy to put under the Christmas tree in the equalization office, so that'll be fun. So again, tomorrow through December 4th. That's my report.
Thank you. Commissioner Krogman.
Yeah, I attended Vicky's celebration, and I wasn't able to stay for long, but did get a chance to talk with her and wish her all the best in her retirement. And she did a fantastic job here, and really enjoyed working with her. And I got a chance to tell her that, so that was good. That's all I had.
Thank you.
Extremely short. I didn't have any.
Well, mine's maybe just one more longer.
Talked to Vicky in the morning, so.
I participated, this goes way back to department head reviews, and then I was gone on a little vacation and a little hunting trip, so, which was successful. And then also on the 13th, Vicky's retirement. And again, I was very pleased by the number of people that showed up for that. That event was well run. Thank you for the staff for putting that together. It was very COVID safe. So again, that's the end of my report. Item 12 is an executive session in accordance with South Dakota Code of (1)(4) for personnel and contract negotiations. Is there a motion to move?
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We will take a 5-minute break and meet in executive session. Thank you.